My name is Andrew. Oh wait, no, my name is Ben Fisher. How you doing? From Stay Demand, and you are here at the Social Media Hangout. We've got Kristoffer, we've got Wade Harmon with us, and we've got Avatar. And very soon we should have Mark Traphagen joining us as well. So on this week, we're going to be talking about relationship marketing, the pretty awesome quiz that Avatar has created to kind of test your knowledge, just see how really good you are and test yourself against your peers. And then we might be diving a little bit into some things about Facebook as well, and then who knows, just like on the Social Media Hangout every single week, we might divert off into all sorts of different topics. So feel free to drop some any questions that you have into the comments, and we'll do our best to get to them. So just a real couple quick shout-outs. We've got Lee Rickler, Mick Sharp, Chris Boldman, all in the audience. So how you doing, guys? Happy Sunday. So let's get, and Roxanne Davenport. Hi, Roxanne. So let's get started. And why don't we go ahead and get started and talk a little bit about the quiz. Me personally, I've started on it a little bit, but you know, Avatar, if you would, kind of dig a little bit deeper into it and tell us a little bit about what got you started making that thing in the first place.
First of all, hey guys, my first time being part of this awesome social media hangout. So in case I have any slip-ups, do pardon me, please. So I'll start talking about the idea of the quiz and sort of why we started off with it. So the initial idea came a few months ago. During a conference, I was introduced to someone, and I was told that he was a really good social media marketer. And of course, on impulse, I just asked, oh, how good? And it was a question meant as a joke, of course, but he took it really seriously and started talking to me about this crazy campaign that he'd spearheaded a few weeks ago, which got them thousands of leads and thousands of shares and likes and X amount of conversation and Y amount of positive social sentiment. And after about 2.5 seconds, I was really bored. It's stuff that we've heard all the time, and it sounds a little fluffy. And for a marketer to go back to social metrics to quantify how good they are as an individual didn't quite make sense to me. The campaign, of course, involves the product or service that he was marketing, and the quality and the uniqueness of the product and service always play a huge role in how successful a campaign or how successful a marketing effort usually is. So the question was, how do you get marketers on an equal footing without really going absolutely mental about it, and also to do it on a large scale? So we came up with the idea at Circus Social to do a social marketers quiz. It's a 10-round quiz that has various questions that cover aspects of social media and digital marketing. They range from stuff around how good you are with content, how well you engage with your fans, how ethical you are, how well you handle a crisis, do you understand SEO, and do you know whether or not someone like Jack Dorsey is somebody in social media or a serial killer. And then to sort of bring an element of reliability to it, we reached out to various experts in the industry, such as Enge, the SEO extraordinaire, Kristoffer, who you see right there in the corner.
Did you just ask if somebody on social media is a serial killer?
I mean, it was just, you know, the idea of the social media knowledge round was to check whether or not they actually know who Jack Dorsey is or not. I mean, everybody knows who Mark Zuckerberg is. It's damn easy. But, you know, someone from Pinterest or Instagram or people who are talking about the platforms every day, do you actually know who those guys are when you read a news report? Do you actually know if the source is reliable or not? So that's the idea around the last round as such. So to bring a sort of sense of reliability, we had a number of experts come and join us. As I mentioned, Eric, Kristoffer, Jesse Stay, Aaron Lee. We had Ogilvy PR's regional president, Andrew Thomas, and a bunch of really amazing people who sort of took a look at our questions and decided whether or not they were actually correct or required tweaking, or if they shouldn't be there at all. And since marketers are all about ROI, we decided that instead of just getting your score at the end of a round, we'd also give them an exclusive offer at the end of each of the rounds from one of the social media tools guys. So we spoke to people from Post Planner, Social Bro, EdgeRank Checker, Quintly, Freshdesk, and so many more to just come on board and be rewards partners and sort of complete the whole gamification experience of the quiz. So that's the long and short of it.
That's pretty awesome, man. That's really awesome. But how long did it take you to develop?
So from the time of putting the design together, the wireframe, storyboard, development, I think all in all it took us about 35 days.
Well, I must say that the design of that thing is pretty awesome. I like the way it looks, kind of like Monopoly.
Yeah, we've actually got a lot of feedback from a number of people saying that the design is really good, which is why we actually go in and take the quiz. So UI, UX, really important.
Well, and you mentioned the whole gamification aspect of things. So, you know, making it look like a game probably helps a lot too. But anytime you add gamification to anything, especially when it's something that has to do with education and learning and dealing with, of course, social folks in general,
Yeah.
we just love gaming. So cool. So how many people have taken the quiz so far and kind of successfully gone through it?
So far you've got about 1,500 plus who've taken the quiz in the last about 12, 14 days. So it's got off to a really good start. It's, of course, all because of the various people involved in it. They're sharing it, they're endorsing it, they're saying, hey, this is an interesting quiz. And because, of course, the questions are not fluffy. They're not really stuff like, what's the profile picture size of a Facebook photograph. They actually are little mini case studies, such as, say, for example, your competitor posts on your page talking about how bad your product is. So how do you deal with that? And, you know, these questions are really open-ended. A lot of people came back to us and said that, you know what, there's actually a number of ways to tackle each problem on social media. There's no need for us to do a specific thing, you know, and which is exactly why we actually called an expert and said, hey guys, what do you think the adequate response, a professional response to this particular question is? And yes, on many levels, there are 2 or 3 answers that could be correct, but in the event you're looking for the absolute correct answer, which is universally accepted, it's A, or it's B, or it's C.
That makes sense. So how are you dealing with the open-ended questions? Do you actually have people reviewing the open-ended questions, or is it more of some kind of a algorithm behind it?
So for all the open-ended questions, for the crisis round, for the ethics round, you know, these 2 rounds are mostly the ones where questions are open-ended. People can be extremely ethical and be by the book, or they can just be absolute cowboys about the way they deal with their social media. So, you know, we figured that for stuff like this, somebody who's been in PR for a long time would be a good person to bring in and say, this is how you do it. And the expert on the quiz that we have for the particular rounds, Andrew Thomas, he's been in PR for about 35 years. He's been there, done that, seen things from print to digital to everything, and he sort of gave us what the adequate response to each of the questions is. So that's what we've gone with. You know, if we have an expert putting his voice behind an answer and saying this is right, it doesn't make people come back to us and say that you guys just came up with this in your sleep, and now you're making us conform to that. But we can actually say, you know what, there's a real expert behind this, and he's got a wealth of experience, so you should take it up with him.
Really cool. And by the way, hey, Mark Traphagen, thanks for joining us, brother.
Yeah, sorry for the late start. I was scrambling to get to my studio to be able to do this, but reached it in time. Hi, Ami. Nice to see you on here.
Awesome. So, Wade, actually, over to you. Tell what, you know, from a relationship standpoint, you know, what do you think about the whole social media quiz? How do you think it can help people?
Well, you know, a quiz can, from what I took of the quiz and what I did take of it, you know, it helped me learn more things about Facebook. I don't know about you guys, but I actually failed the Facebook quiz twice before I could go past to the next quiz. And the fact of the matter is, I've not been on Facebook for almost a year, and so there are things that I learned from Facebook. And so there, it just depends on which social site that you like, I guess. Is there a Google Plus quiz on there, Avatar?
So that's one that we haven't added as yet, but because of the way that it's structured, it would be absolutely no problem to add round 11 and have that as Google Plus one. It's on the cards. We're going to be adding it in after a while. Yeah.
Okay, well, cool. That's the one I'm looking forward to, and this can not hurt your relationship status on different sites. Anything that makes you better at something, at engagement. One of the questions that they gave was, how would you deal with a situation? I believe one of the questions was, a brand is saying something bad about your brand, or a company is talking bad about your brand. I can't remember the exact question, but it gave you a list of 4, I believe, choices, and it shows you what you could do. And now, the first thing you want to do when you hear somebody talking about your brand, and I'm from the hills of Appalachian Mountains, the first thing I do when somebody talks bad about me is I roll up my sleeves and I give them a nice pounding. But you can't do that in social media. You have to hold yourself back and be tactful, at least, with different things. And this can show you some different strategies to use and what you can do. I believe I chose one of the things that I chose is not to get directly involved, but just monitor the conversation and see what the followers were saying about it. It's a funny story. I actually had something like this happen to me about a month ago. It wasn't a company, but rather an individual was saying something about me, and instead of replying in the hot-headed manner that I am, and a lot of you, may not know this about me, but I can get really hot-headed really quick. And so I watched as this person just more or less tore me down, and I watched as my followers then came to my rescue and said this and defended my brand's honor. And so if I had jumped in and done the very first thing that I was, thinking about doing, was like, oh, I'd just like to say this, or I'd just like to say that. You got to watch out, because people are watching you. And this, I believe, this quiz can help you kind of think before you act. In other words, if that makes any sense. I hope that was the question you was looking for, the answer anyway.
Well, I mean, that's a great point right there. I mean, using a quiz to kind of almost educate yourself. Even if you don't know the answer, the quiz can help you kind of find that answer for yourself. And, bravo to, not jumping in, fists flying their weight, and more coming out and being like, okay, you know what, I'm just going to sit back and relax, and then your tribe came to your rescue.
Hey, I'm serious. One day, I used to be an electrician in coal mines, and one day I heard these guys talking about me over in the breaker. We call it a breaker, and it's where the air circulates through. They didn't know I was around. I had my light cut off so they couldn't see me. Man, they was talking about me like a dog. Man, I just took off running there. Pow, 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 pow. And this is something that I can't do on social media. I do tell people, it's like, hey, this is who I am, and I do have a high-spirited temper sometimes, but you can't just go unleash. That's not professional, number one. And it's okay to argue with people, I believe, but you have to learn how to argue in a professional manner. For instance, if you and I argued, Ben, and I disagreed with a point of yours, I'm not going to get mad at you. You're my friend. I respect your opinion. But then again, on the other side of that coin, I would also expect you to respect my opinion and to see my point of view. There's a way to talk to people on social, and you have to figure out what way that is. And I think this quiz, it shows you some things and some solutions that you can use to apply.
And as Nicholas Cardo says in the comments here, if you do try to punch somebody out on social media, you're going to end up with a fistful of glass anyway, and it's only going to hurt yourself. So. I have a question for Avatar about the quiz. After using the data in any way, are you collecting data on not just who uses the quiz, but what questions, what answers that they give to questions. I'm curious if you're collecting that, and if you're doing anything with it. If you are, and if you aren't, I have a suggestion.
Okay, so yes, to answer your question, we are collecting the data. We've structured a really interesting database in which we are capturing who answered the question, where they're from, what gender they are, and also the answer that they gave to every single question. And not only the right ones, but also every single question. And it's sort of, at the end of it, what we hope to do is say that 85% of people would want to handle a crisis in this way, but the right way to do it is actually this. And 40% of people who, just insights around the way people think, what's right, what's not right. So yes, that is on the books. But what did you have in mind? What kind of?
Well, I think you're already thinking my way. Is that could be a great piece of content, or a piece of content. It could be a number of pieces of content to give some analysis over on the data that you collect over time. I mean, it could be very interesting insights on what people think is the right answer to each of these situations. Might provide some insights about the way that people think that they should use social media or have been trying to, versus what the experts that you've assembled think is the right way. It just could be some interesting content.
Sounds like infographics and slide shares are definitely going to be in your future avatar.
Coming up this week.
That's pretty awesome. So, so what about you, Kristoffer? Have you tried the quiz yet? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I'll be truthful. I only got to review the part that I was asked to review. I haven't had a chance to go in yet. It's on my list of things to do. But I think much like Wade, I'm going to end up with a few spots where I'm going to get stuck and probably have to go back. I think from a marketer's perspective, the quiz itself is fantastic to help identify the areas that maybe you're not so strong in as a marketer. You may think you are. We think that, because we're doing really well on Google Plus or LinkedIn, that we can carry that same thing over to Facebook. Well, apparently it doesn't fit. It's not the same. So, I'm definitely going to take the quiz. I apologize I haven't taken it sooner. I didn't take it before the Hangout. But I'd encourage everyone else to take it and definitely review your own results.
Yeah, and Avatar, definitely go ahead. Please throw that link into the comments if you get a chance here, so so that everybody who's watching can go ahead and start taking that quiz, and let's start adding up and learning and adding more to the data pool. I have one question for you, and somebody was asking me about this actually just last week, and that is how come there's no Google Plus login? And like Wade was saying, how come there's no Google Plus quizzes? Now, I understand why there isn't, but I want to hear it from you.
Okay. So, funny story here. When I shared this on LinkedIn with all my connections, I was asked, how come there's no way to connect with LinkedIn? And I shared it on Google Plus, and the very first comment was no Google Plus sign-in. So I would have loved to have Twitter, Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn, all of them in there. But the idea was that one of the most valuable things that can come out from this quiz are the insights. And those can be, and Facebook's API allows us to plug into a number of various variables. We're gathering only the basic information. We're not going very deep and getting all their likes and interests and the books they like and the music they like, but we're going in for stuff like the very basics that tell us about the individual. So that's the primary reason why we're using Facebook login, because we're able to, we'll be able to deliver much better insights every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks.
Right, and that, of course, that information really isn't readily accessible through the API that Google Plus has, and even if it was there, majority of people just don't fill in the data.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, Facebook's done a good job of just leeching data from absolutely everywhere that they can.
Yeah. So speaking of Facebook, this will make a great hashtag segue. Mark, I know you really have some thoughts and some things that you want to talk about Facebook. So why don't we go ahead and just kind of start ripping into it?
Sure. I think anybody that pays attention in the social media world, or who certainly is involved in social media marketing, is aware that over the last several months we've been hearing reports that Facebook seems to be throttling back even more the amount of organic reach that you can have to your fan base within Facebook. We're talking here particularly about Facebook pages. When we talk about organic reach, we mean people who have liked your page simply seeing content that you post on your page in their Facebook newsfeed. The likelihood of that has never been, or at least for a long time, never been 100%. And the percentage of the likelihood of it has been going steadily down in recent history, and now by some measurements can be as low as 6%. That means on the average that only 6% of your fan base will have a chance of seeing a piece of content that you've posted. And people have jumped all over that. Said Facebook is throttling it, and the main criticism or suspicion has been that Facebook is doing it simply out of a profit motive. That you got all these brands to sign up for Facebook. They built these huge fan bases that they say are very valuable to them, and now the only effective way that they can reach them on a consistent basis is to pay for Facebook advertising, or various options that Facebook has, such as promoted posts, where you can pay to push for Facebook to push a post of yours into a significant more percent of your following. So Facebook has not responded to that in any substantive way for a long time, but just this week they came out with a major long blog post addressing from their point of view the concerns. And I've already seen some snarky posts out there saying, yeah, sure, this is so cynical, and we all know it's that they're just trying to make more money. Well, first of all, yes, Facebook's trying to make more money. Your business is too. But I think they had some good points in there, and there's some points. This is a great promo for me because it just happens to come out on a week when I'm writing my new column for Marketing Land. That'll come out in mid-June sometime, around June 15th, 16th. That's going to be about why it is inevitable that your social media news feeds are going to be filtered, and they're going to be filtered more and more. But to cut to the chase of what they said, and then I'll give a little bit of the cynical side. They said simply that it's traffic, it's content traffic, it's content shock that's happening everywhere. That there's just more and more content coming in. As more brands have gotten active on Facebook, more people are following more brands than ever before. All their stats show that people are liking brands at an increasing rate on Facebook. The amount of traffic going in is much, but it's not just the amount. Just to give they give some idea, and I've never seen these figures before, but in the blog post, the Facebook person quotes that the average person on Facebook, anytime they log on to their news feed, there are, on the average, about 1,500 pieces of content that could qualify to be shown to them at that moment. That's the average person. Now, they said for somebody who is follows a lot more people or a lot more brands, it can be like 15,000. So that's just in that moment. Those are all pieces of content equally bidding in a kind of auction, as it were, to get into the top of your news feed. So there has to be some filtering. That's the first response, and that I think is a very valid response. The second response that I think is valid is that these networks are sophisticated. They're very data-driven, and their motive, they need to see engagement. They need to keep people on the site. Key metric for a social network is the time on site. How long are people actually in their streams? How long people are on the network, actively engaged with it? And Facebook has watched the data of that, and they said, frankly, we see that when people get an unfiltered stream or a relatively unfiltered stream, they don't stay as long. They don't spend as much time. When we apply algorithms that try to throw at them sort of the top of the stream the content that we think they'll be most interested in, they stay longer and they engage more. It's simply a fact. Now, people will protest that. People will say, no, I want, see everything. I want to, I'll do better. I'm a better judge at, what I like than Facebook is, but the metrics don't bear them out. By the way, little parenthetical thing there that I think is good to keep in mind when you're looking at studies and things like that. Anything that's a survey, when people are surveying users, always take a little bit of a grain of salt with what people say they will do or what they want to do. There's a certain amount of value in that, but Wade's our psychology, customer psychology expert here. I'm sure he knows this, that what people say they will do and what they actually do in a real situation are very often two different things. So there's the case that Facebook has laid out. Now I'll jump to the cynical side too, that a lot of people jumped on. Is the blog post is set up like kind of an FAQ, and one of the questions is Facebook just doing this to make more money? And the guy answers like, no, oh no, it's just to make the experience better. But then when you get down a few questions later to where he's saying like, so how can a brand use Facebook effectively? Almost all of the bullet points in that section are spend money, pay advertising. It's going to be your most effective way in. Now, I'll say this, that, and then I've talked for a while here, so then I'll get some responses and maybe some pushback here. Everybody jumps on Facebook about this, but a lot of other search engines and social networks do too. Google, it used to be a lot easier to rank high in Google organically. It's really, really hard, as anybody who's tried to do it knows. Possible, but very, very hard. So what solution does Google offer to that? You can pay your way to the top. You can buy AdWords advertising. And, people kind of give Google a free pass on that, but, it's not that much different, in my opinion. So, okay, there's the layout of what Facebook has come back with. So what do you guys think?
I think one thing that would be nice is if there was some way to find out, even if it was from Facebook, a way to optimize your content or even to communicate with the people who have already liked your page for free that are actually interested in you, and optimize so that those people can actually see your message. And that would be nice. I mean, I think all of the points that you've made so far, Mark, are completely valid. And they are a public company. They have to serve, of course, the people who have invested in their company first. Mark Barris actually makes a really great comment here, is they don't want to clutter up the suggested posts. That's actually probably true too. But back to the point that you made, which is that there is so much data that's going through that platform, so much that's been posting. There's cat pics, there's food pics, there's pictures of my feet, there's pictures of a random wall. There's a lot of low-quality content, I guess you could say, really, that's flowing through those streams. So you could see that any kind of algorithm that you could write is going to have a very difficult time figuring out, with all the personalization data sets that they have behind it, even with all of that, that it's going to be very difficult to surface the right kind of content at the right time right into your stream. So, I mean, I could definitely see that challenge right there.
Yeah, I've also seen data from Facebook where they've said before that people have, not data, but where they've said that they've shown, this doesn't really surprise me, that they've seen that you've got to be careful on how much brand content you throw into the mix on newsfeed. And this is just not even talking about overall, but just branded content, that they've seen through observing that if there's too much branded content in the mix, even if it's good content, even if it's entertaining, if people are just seeing too much from brands, they'll stop using Facebook, or they'll use it less. So that's the reason why they say they've kind of cranked that down. One point I wanted to make is a guy named Marty Weintraub. Some of you may be familiar with him. He's the CEO of an agency called AimClear. Marty's an absolute nut if you ever get to see him in a conference. Ben, you'll have the opportunity at SMX Advanced next week.
Awesome.
Marty will be there. Marty's a maniac, but he is a brilliant maniac. And Marty's Marty's built almost a whole business around mining Facebook data for other purposes. If you have an active page, you have a large fan base, you have access to, as Avtar was saying earlier, you have access to a lot of data, a lot of demographic data. And what Marty does for his clients is he mines that and repurposes that and uses that not always on Facebook, uses that for other campaigns and other places, email marketing campaigns, content campaigns. He learns a lot about the people who are potentially interested in his clients' products from Facebook. So I add that just to say that I think one of the things that brands have to be doing that have complained so much about how they're being throttled on Facebook is look at, just like Google organic search, you can complain if an algorithm change comes along and you drop in the rankings and say Google's being unfair to me. Well, it's just the way it is. You can't have all your eggs in one basket. You've got to have a diverse marketing plan that can reach your fans, reach potential customers in many different ways. Too many businesses built entire businesses based on Facebook organic reach, and those are the ones that are now hurting and screaming.
Don't depend on OPP.
Now, see, I would say that at the core of Facebook's algorithm, of course, is relationships. So, based on the fact that they would probably gauge whether they would show your content or not to someone would be based upon the past relationship that you've established with them and the engagement that you have. So, getting to, Wade's area of specialization is, relationships. It's important to build relationships with your audience, and good, firm relationships. When they started throttling back on the reach, a lot of businesses were complaining because suddenly they realized, these people don't really like my page. I have 6,000 likes, but of those people, how many people really like me? And other people suddenly found out I don't have that many friends. But the clients that we've had, I never really saw the drop in the reach so much because sure, we had, on these accounts we had a lot of likes, but over the years we had established relationships with certain people. And those people were still seeing our content every single day. You could see the reach; those numbers never ever changed, even though people were complaining that they were losing it. But the fact was, we were always about Wade Special. We were about relationship marketing and capitalizing on the interest that we shared with the audience. So I think that if businesses start focusing more on that instead of just the sheer number of likes or the sheer number of friends, and more, the people that they really look, when you get up every day and say, I look forward to talking to this person, or what's on this person's wall, and if you start focusing more on the relationship, you'll see that the numbers they're good numbers. They may not be as high as you want them to be, but they are definitely good numbers.
But I also think that could possibly be where most people fall into the trap of social media and the romanticism of having 100,000 followers or 60,000 fan likes on your Facebook page. It's that notoriety. People love that, and it's something that everybody wants. But when it all comes down to it, it all comes down to the engagement that you have with your followers, with the people that have came and liked. Now, they gave you their attention. Now it's up to you to draw them closer to you and to build that trust with them. Once you actually grab the attention, it's time to build trust.
And that's a really good point, and it's actually metrically true now, mechanically true on Facebook, and I think will be more and more on other social networks. It's not just a good psychological thing to do, to build relationships with your fans, but actually it is part of the algorithm. Now, Facebook found that, something that many of us were saying 2 years ago, that, the value of a like or a +1 on Google Plus is not all that high. People can like something for all sorts of reasons. They may have liked your brand because you offered a coupon, and so if you like a brand, you get access to the coupon. They wanted that one-time coupon, but they really could care less about you after that. They make that one purchase. So what they're looking at now, and Facebook has said this, was they realized that people just liking a brand doesn't mean all that much. But it is part of, it's not the only thing, but it's part of that content filtering algorithm to say who is relating with this brand. actually engaging with them. You know, if you are actively commenting on their posts, or you're posting things on their walls, you're responding to things, you're sharing their content, they're going to show you more of their content. So as a brand, you need to encourage that. The days of what was happening on Facebook was like brands had discovered back when it was driven by likes, was that you just did things to get likes. You posted bizarre videos and funny photos and asked goofy questions that had nothing to do with your brand, nothing to do with your image, nothing to do with building relationship. It was all just because if you got more likes, you got more organic reach. That doesn't work anymore. You have to actually be getting real engagement. So they're actually rewarding what you teach and preach, Wade.
And to circle back to what Kristoffer was saying earlier, was that building relationship with your fans is really important, and we noticed that as well. So when the whole organic reach drop hit, we actually felt it. We did. Our reach dropped by about 25%, and I remember we had these 4 or 5 people who would always comment and always like and share our stuff and say something about it. And I noticed that they still stayed on, that they were still part of that. And one reason could be that A, that their engagement with us was really high throughout, but B, it was also that maybe at some idle Wednesday they thought that, hey, you know what, I've not seen anything from these guys for a while. Let me go to their page and check it out. And they actually went through the manual process of going to the page, looking at the content, social, and saying, oh yeah, and maybe they went to the extent of actually clicking that little status bar and saying receive all notifications. So the importance of building these relationships, it can't be overlooked at all. Having these star fans always with you, making all these guys people who are going to endorse you all the time is really important. And like Mark said earlier, I personally feel that Facebook's 1,500 stories that are on your newsfeed now, it's because of 2 things that I feel have happened in the last 2 years. One, the amount of third-party apps that are allowed to post to Facebook has gone up really high. So when I'm going through my Facebook feed, I see something from Instagram, Spotify, Mediafire, and things like that. It just keeps coming in. And because of all of these apps people are using, they're posting from it to Facebook. Facebook's feed has been cluttered so much. And the second thing that I feel happened was our clients over the last year have been, last 2 years actually, have been asking us that, you know what, we're not happy with what we're getting in terms of engagement. We need more things to happen. So we said, why don't you think about your strategy again? Why don't you actually ask more personal stuff? Why don't you connect with your consumers? Why don't you actually sort of your content plan should not rely completely around your brand and your sales, but also should connect with your customers. So think about their likes, their dislikes, and ask them something along those lines. But there were a number of agencies, a number of consultants who said, post more. You want more, you can just post more. Instead of posting just 1 article a day, 3, 4, 5 posts. And they loved it. They were like, yeah, let's do this. And instead of having 10 pieces of content every week, they had 40, 50 pieces of content. And obviously, once all of these things start happening in your newsfeed, at some point, it does come down to Facebook's responsibility, really, to filter out what people using their service are seeing, and you can't blame them for what's happened.
Yeah, actually, you bring up a really awesome point there, Avatar. And that is that with all of the apps, how open the API really is, with all the apps that are out there that just allow for automatic, pretty much spamming of posts. I mean, Instagram is a great example of that. We've all been kind of trying to get into Instagram now. And you just check off 2 things, and bam, one goes out to Twitter, one goes out to Facebook immediately every time you do a picture. Well, if you've got an aggressive Instagram campaign going on, you're sending out 5, 10, 15, 20 photographs of God knows what to Facebook, and that's going to cause a lot of clutter. I think that's actually one of the genius, I think almost intentional things that Google has done, which is basically throttled access to API in many different ways. As a matter of fact, to even get the Pages API access, you only have 1 shot at that application. And if you do not make that application, you don't get Pages API access. I don't know what the exact number is, but I believe it's really only a handful of companies that have gotten that page's API access. So they're not allowing basically companies to say, well, I'm just going to go ahead and build an application. If you want to do it, you have to do it against their terms of service, which means they can shut you down very quickly. So they've kind of done a great job, I think, from that as a platform perspective to kind of keep at least our existence a little bit more pristine and not have to go the pay-to-play route.
Now, given that you're saying, Google doesn't allow that API, I was in a hangout with Kathy Brown earlier in the week, and the conversation turned to one day, do you believe that we may be penalized for utilizing third-party apps? Because when you use those, Google knows that that's not a real, chances are it's not a real person, that it's a scheduled post, that it's not authentic, so to speak, it's not personal. So, and they can check that. I mean, they can see that. It doesn't say necessarily posted on Hootsuite, but when you log in, it says right there, you can see posted by Hootsuite.
There was actually a time, I remember back in Google+, Mark, and you can help me verify this, but I remember a time briefly where actually there was a via Hootsuite link that
yes,
you
there
could
was.
see.
And I hated that. But that's what I'm saying. Do you think one day, this, or if it's not already there, do you think possibly that could be a small penalty?
Well, actually,
Google knows that you're not authentic.
Facebook did do that for a while. They were, and they admitted finally that they actually were throttling content that was coming from third-party apps to the inside the Facebook pages. After there was a lot of public uproar about that, a lot of publicity about it, they said that they were no longer doing it. There's some that allege, from their testing, that they think it still is. They think that third-party content still is less likely to show up on news feeds than others on Facebook. But Facebook, the last I heard anyway, Facebook denied that they were doing that. But to your point, it's not like nobody's done it. Facebook at least admitted at one time that they were doing that.
It would be interesting to see some A/B case studies where somebody's using something like Sprout Social or Hootsuite to post to their page.
Oh, I have one for you, Ben. We have a client. We were using, I don't want to say, we were using a third-party app, and it was a noticeable drop. Like I'm talking 2 pages. And we have Facebook. It was 2 pages, a huge drop. And as I said in the hangout with Kathy, there was no other thing. We went through every other variable. Could it be this? Could it be that? Could it be that? The only thing was that we were using this third-party provider to post to the account. We stopped doing that, and almost immediately we regained not all the footing immediately, but most of it. And to be truthful, even after Mark said they admitted to or not, I still have not gone back to it. I still refuse to let anyone use those to a Facebook page anyway. I mean, Twitter, we still use it for Twitter. I've never seen a penalty using it for Twitter, but definitely, as Mark said, I did see it for Facebook. 2 pages.
For what it's worth,
I was talking about Google Plus, but anyway, keep going. Sorry, Mark.
Well, I'm going to comment on Google Plus. For what it's worth, just anecdotal evidence, but a few weeks ago I started feeding in fairly regularly link shares through Hootsuite to our Google Plus page, the Stone Temple Consulting. It's in between its filler stuff. We do post regularly directly to the page, but we have the same problem that anybody that objects to automating and say, well, okay, you stay up 24 hours a day, I'm not going to. That there can be some value to automatically feeding in content that's still valuable to your users in between those times when you post actively on the site. So anyway, we've been doing that. We get on the average as many +1s or reshares of that content as we do just about anything else that we post, with maybe the exception of when something is brand new and goes up for the first time on our page. But they do get, so they are reaching people, because they do get, almost all of those get some +1s. And again, that's anecdotal, it's not a real test, but I don't see evidence at this point that Google Plus is actively throttling those.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, I think that just like any other way they treat spam, if they've seen you doing something too much, then you may suffer some kind of throttling. Now, of course, that's a guess. There's no evidence to support that whatsoever. You'd have to set up a completely clean account and then just spam the heck out of it, and really do kind of in a vacuum almost to see what would exactly happen with it.
I do think if you're, and we've all seen this, we've all seen brand pages on Google Plus where the entire feed is obviously just automated, reposting from Twitter or something like that. It's, tweets just being automatically posted into Google Plus. And I do think that is not a good idea. I've not seen anybody do that successfully, but that's not necessarily because Google Plus is throttling it, because of that. It's because people look at that feed and they just say, this is what it's all it is a bunch of short one-liners with a link.
Yeah, there's no engagement.
Yeah. So, even though I'm doing that to a limited extent, I'm making sure that we are regularly posting, more built-out Google Plus quality content onto our page, so that anybody looking at our page, at our stream, or following it regularly is going to see enough of that to know that we care, that we're paying attention there, that we're actually building something engaging there.
Yeah, and you can always tell those scheduled posts, can't you?
Yeah, and I don't think I'm fooling anybody because they even look like a tweet. The ones that are scheduled in Stone. If you went there right now to Stone Temple page, you could pick them out in an instant. But they get, each one we put up gets a little bit of traffic. People click the links. It gets a few +1s. Some of them get some reshares. So it's just, to me, it's filler. It's keeping something going. It's keeping those links active, but it's in between. But it's not the main part of our strategy on Google Plus by any means.
Yeah, definitely. So, Wade, what's going on new with you, brother, as far as relationship marketing?
Well, I am putting on the finishing touches to my relationship experience course. It's going to be coming out the 1st of July. So I'm really excited about that. I've been working on it for about 3-4 months now. And it's going to have screen shares, tutorials. It's all video based. And it's everything that I do to build relationships, to approach influencers, how to get people's attention. It's just the whole package. And so I'm excited about that. It's going to be coming out in probably the first full week of July.
Congratulations, man.
Have you got a preview link for us?
I do not.
Oh.
Not yet. I'm just allowing people to, if you want to be in the notification circle, I've got about 45 people in that so far. And if you want to be in the notification circle and I'll notify you, you'll get it first. Whenever it comes out, I'll send it to you.
Awesome. So, and then next week, Mark, we've got Seattle coming up.
Yeah.
Not Google Seattle, but SMX Seattle.
Hey, Mark, I am so happy that you got that speaking position. I actually applied for that too.
You applied for my position?
Well, the 15-minute speaker thing at Moz.
Oh no, this is Moz. Yeah, Moz is in July. This is SMX Advanced.
Okay. I'm talking about the Moz.
It's awesome because I love Seattle and I'm going to get to go there twice in 2 months, so that's pretty awesome. But yeah, Ben and I will be out at SMX Advanced this week, which don't even bother. It's already sold out, folks, so we can't even put a plug in for it. But good for them. SMX Advanced, I've spoken there before. It's, as the name implies, it's where they kind of up the quality a little bit. They looking for not just the run-of-the-mill tips and things you get everywhere else, but the real advanced insights. 2-day conference, Wednesday and Thursday. So if you follow Ben or myself or Eric Enge at Stone Temple on Twitter, Eric Enge obviously here on Google Plus, he'll be there as well. In addition to, I'll be speaking in the 25 tips. Get the whole title. It's a long title. 25 social media tips for advanced search marketers. With that, I'm impressing myself that I've got that down. But there's 4 of us who will be. It's just a title they throw out. I think we added up. We looked at our presentations, and I think we have like 76 tips or something like that between the 4 of us. But that'll be fun. And then Eric and I are also putting on a special kind of closed invitation-only luncheon on one of the days. We'll be talking to major brands who are attending and giving them some kind of inside insights on how we at Stone Temple handle content marketing. So, be a great trip. Watch our streams for reports and photos and videos from there.
We should all have a nice little story that comes out of that, probably. Google Story.
Yep. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. So we're almost near the top of the hour. Is there anything else that anybody would like to talk about? Aptar, is there anything that you would kind of like to give out to people as a call to action? So they.
Yeah. So definitely, I think what would be interesting would be if in the next Hangout, before we do it, I could send a couple of insights to you guys to take a look at, go over, maybe sort of discuss a couple of those things as well, as to why people feel a certain way and why they went for certain answers. That would be interesting to probably discuss as well, that, thousands of these marketers think this way about certain things. But yeah, for that to happen, please do take the quiz. In the comments section, I think Gary dropped the link for the quiz. So.
Excellent. Right on. And definitely. Thank you for joining us, Wade, Mark, Kristoffer, and sorry Andrew couldn't be here today, and I hope I did a good job being his sub.
And we missed Eric.
Eric,
and we missed Eric and Dustin today.
Oh, and Dustin too.
Eric sends his hellos to everybody. His youngest son's graduation party is in progress as we speak. Mm-hmm. So congratulations to Eric. He's rapidly heading toward empty nesting.
Ooh.
I already know the joys of.
Congratulations. Yeah, and we might be organizing a hangout in real life in Seattle. We don't know how many plusers are going to be at SMX Advanced, but if you are in Seattle, or if you know somebody in Seattle, drop them in the comments so that way we can reach out to them and maybe do a little bit of hangout in real life. So other than that, join us at smhangout.com. Definitely join us in the communities. If you have any ideas that you'd like to float by us for topics next week, please feel free to. And otherwise, we will catch you all on the flip side.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.